everybody, and welcome back to A Man Who Owns a Snorlax Pillow. My name is Edinger, and I'm sure you would have noticed, but in the last year or so, the content in which I make, and especially the style in which I make it, has changed quite significantly. And I thought it'd be really interesting to talk about that. Now, of course, some of this is going to come from growing and maturing, because everyone grows, everyone changes, change is inevitable, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But there were some very specific instances that really caused me to look at the content I make, the way that I make it, and what I'm really doing here. You see, YouTube is and always has been just such a big hobby to me. Back when I started in my college dorm, just making videos because I wanted a community, I wanted to talk to people, I wanted to share my opinions, bouncing around house to house in London, until now I'm just doing the same thing. It's still just such a big hobby. I enjoy making videos so much. But for my first 5 years in London, I was either going to university full-time and trying to film and edit and upload videos on the weekend, or working full-time and then likewise having those 2 days at the end of the week to try and work on my YouTube videos. But I always put a lot of effort in because I just liked it. It was something I was really enjoying doing. However, it then got to the point when I was only working 2 days a week at a part-time job at a social influencer marketing agency. This was to help fulfill the terms of my visa, also pay the bills. When they went under, I then found myself with, instead of just having 2 or 3 days to work on YouTube videos, hypothetically, I had all 7. I could just be a professional YouTuber now. Isn't that cool? However, I did find that even though I had all that extra time to hypothetically make more content or better content or something like that, it still felt like what I was making was a bit samey, if you know what I mean. Now, here's really where the story starts. So I get a brand deal a couple years ago through to my travel channel. And usually this type of thing goes through my management. So I talk to my management, who talked to the agency, who talked to the brand. There's so many people in the middle, but it's just the way the process works. It kind of saves me the hassle of all these types of processes. But in this specific instance, the agency had access to my phone number. That's important for later on. Now, if you're a creator, you know how absolutely frustrating some agencies can be. They'll email you to say, hey, you want to make a piece of content for us by this time noon tomorrow? It is 2020, and I still have agencies and brands that expect me to somehow have a 24-hour turnaround on content for them, which basically makes me feel like, 1, I have nothing else to do in my life, or 2, making this content is super duper easy. I find it just a little bit disrespectful, but that's kind of always the way it is, and your option is either, do you accept this and pay the bills, or not? So honestly, you kind of have to just rush around a lot of times. Now, in this case, I have a call with the agency in the morning. They go over what they're expecting. I'm like, cool, sounds good to me. They did have this really weird stipulation in which they asked for the raw files. And now, normally, I would not usually give out my raw files. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. You're just going to have videos of me where I'm looking at my phone maybe, or I'm getting a little cough. And they were like insisting. They're like, we need these raw files. After I pushed back twice, I was like, okay, they really want these raw files. So I figured, sure, I'll give it to them. Now, during that day, I just had a lot of anxiety, and it's not really a good idea to film when you're anxious or not feeling up for it, so I came up with a plan: sleep the anxiety away. I don't know if you've ever tried that. It doesn't really work, but sometimes you get lucky. And so I was going to wake up at 6 in the morning, do this whole thing at the last second, but I'd still try my best. Well, what happened? I did wake up at 6. I filmed it. I did run into some issues with the product. I did get it to work in the end, but initially it wasn't cooperating. I send them the raw files. I think I've done a pretty good job. And then I get a phone call, and they are livid. Turns out they did not like the raw files. She is yelling at me saying things like, I can't believe you thought this would be acceptable. How are we supposed to show the brand this part of the content in which you're cursing at the product? And I was like, well, first off, I was joking. I wasn't actually. I mean, it clearly worked, and I normally would never, and to this day, I will never, ever provide raw files to any brand ever again. I can't believe I even did. I mean, they look like this nowadays, so good luck trying to color that all right. But she was furious. She was so upset, and I tried to let her understand that I would never have put that in the final content, and maybe this shouldn't be as big a deal if you'd just let me do it that way. However, she then said to me something on the phone, which I have not forgotten to this day, because it still, I guess, upsets me, the whole point of this video. She said, I can get anyone to make this content for us. It shouldn't be that hard. But she said it with such a bite and such a disdain that I didn't know what to do. Here's the thing. I am so non-confrontational. Talk to anyone that I know. I avoid confrontation like the plague. I really do. And so at this instance, I'm so upset already. I just was like, okay, I'm really sorry. I'll reshoot. I'll do the whole thing. So at this point, I go about, I reshoot it. I send it to them. They're okay with it. They're fine now. However, that line that she'd said to me, I could get anyone to make this content. Basically, you're so replaceable. This shouldn't be as hard. It just made me feel so incredibly valueless, as if like I'm just a dime a dozen. Anyone that does this type of content is so easily replaceable. I could just find anyone. Where in reality, if I'd really thought about it, I could have said, well, No, because you got me 24 hours. Try and find someone to do this in the next 2 hours. You know, obviously they couldn't do that. She was just being mean. But also, it really started to make me like think about, am I really that replaceable? Obviously, you shouldn't say this to anyone. She works in marketing. You know how many people work in marketing? A bajillion. That's a real number. I worked in marketing. But still, the remark was there ringing in my ears. Anyone can make this content. I could get anyone to do this. And the thing is, when I started making videos, vlogging was such a new thing. You know, if you were a vlogger, you basically got carried by your personality, your content. It didn't really matter about much else. These days, it's 2020. Everyone's making content, whatever the heck making content means. Camera phones are getting so much better, editing software is getting so much more accessible, and that is amazing. My flatmate Noah, he spent most of his life editing on his phone. That's crazy cool. I genuinely think that's amazing. There's so many more people that are able to tell their stories and just express themselves online. I love that. However, if everyone can do this, what makes you stand out? What makes me stand out? Just my personality? Well, I'm a white guy with glasses and a quiff. What else do I got going on for me? So I kind of kept flirting with the idea of improving my quality a bit, but genuinely every time I considered buying a new camera or doing something that would better this, I remember having one of my ex-flatmates say something like, oh, for what you're doing, it'd be wasted. That wouldn't be worth it. But like, what does that mean? Like the content that YouTubers make, that this content wouldn't be worth being better, that I just have to be the same as everyone in terms of like quality and just have it that way, just because I'm not making a feature film or something means that I can't shoot with a little bit better quality? I don't know. That really hurt me in a way. I genuinely believe everyone should strive to make better things, even if it's only for themselves, just for the satisfaction. Now, with all this stuff bubbling in the background, there was then one main instant that really was just the straw that broke the camel's back. Last summer, I made a couple videos with Forman. Now, Forman is a creator I greatly look up to and respect. His editing is so incredibly tight and comical. You can tell he puts so much thought and effort into every part of his videos, and I just really enjoy them. And so the ability to make a video with him, or even two, was so amazing to me. I was so excited to kind of work one-on-one and share this guy, myself, with you guys. It'd be amazing. He brought a lot of good content to it. However, in those videos, I just felt like so many things went wrong. The camera autofocus went haywire. It was focusing on me. It was focusing on Jay. It'd go to the Pokemon in the background. It was just all over the place, and I didn't know what to do about it. Even when it came to the edit, I found that the microphone bits were just sounding so off that when I tried to cut it, it sounded so much more jarring and jumping than usual. And the thing is, it's not like that was just me. Everyone noticed that. I got such a lovely new amount of people that watch my videos because they like Jay, and I was like, awesome. However, I just felt so embarrassed. I felt like everyone's first impression of me was just this standard boring vlogger with the same edits and the same quality and just autofocus. And the thing is, I didn't know what I could do about it, but that was it. That was genuinely the final straw for me. I just didn't want to constantly have to feel like, oh, when something looks good, it's because I got lucky, or if something's bad, I don't know why. And here's the thing, at this point, I'd been making videos for nearly 9 years, and I don't think anyone could tell. You'd think that by making so much content and doing this for so long, if this is really my full-time job, why am I having so many issues like this? It just felt like I was imposter syndrome, really. Pretty sus. Sure, these issues could have happened to anyone, but if I just knew what I was doing a bit more, which you'd think I would after all that time, it wouldn't have happened as much, and so that was the final straw. I had to be better. It might seem like a weird jump here, but honestly, I just wanted the respect of people that were in my field that were like, he's been making videos for this long, you know, and I just wanted to at least have a bit of knowledge about it. And so I bought a new camera, and then I made mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. But these mistakes I could learn from. I could actually understand why the mistake was happening. I'd learn about it, and while I was learning about how to fix that mistake, another one would come up, and I'd have to learn about how to fix that one, and it was a never-ending rabbit hole. Whereas opposed to before, things would go wrong, and I'd be like, oh, I don't know why, or things would be great, and I'd be like, sweet, and then I'd try and repeat that, and I couldn't, because I didn't know what was happening. Now, each of these mistakes was tangible, and I can quash them. Quash. Honestly, I'm really happy with what I'm making now. Like, I know it's not perfect, but all the mistakes that I've made really help me show the progression of how much I've learned. Like from when I just started shooting with different picture profiles and I accidentally graded everything really badly, to the other time when I accidentally graded the exposure really low, so we were kind of less bright than the background, which looks so silly, or the other time in which I sat too far back in the bed. There's so many mistakes that I have made, but each one of them, as upsetting as it was at the time, allowed me to learn from it until I am at the place where I am right now. And honestly, even on a day in which things feel like they're going wrong, such as if I had to refilm this whole video because my microphone was beeping through the background because it seems I had a crossed wire or something, even during days like that, it's still, I just feel so much more confident in what I'm making and what I'm doing than back to that day when I just felt like nothing was going right. But here's the thing. I know there are so many other creators out there that are so much better than me. And I also know there's a lot of creators that aren't. But at the end of the day, none of that matters. The only thing that really matters is that I am better than I used to be. And the value in what I create cannot be taken away by someone who can just find someone else to do it, because the value in what I create exists because I put it there with my time, with my effort, with my passion. It has value to me. And at the end of the day, that's truly the only thing that matters. No one can take that away. So no matter what random video topic I decide to make a video about this week, next week, the next, thank you for finding its value. And I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.